We are Gathering of the Geeks, podcast and YouTube show built around the things we as geeks all love. Hashtag We Gather on Sundays. Thank you for checking out the one about our favorites. I'm one of your hosts, Emmet. I'm joined by the Ted Lasso of my coach beard, Chris Evans. Chris, how you doing?
Stupendous. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Gathering of the Geeks. It's available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Just search Gathering of the Geeks and you will find us. Chris, it's our first show of 2024, and we are up against the Golden Globes.
Which neither of us knew until about 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, I didn't know that was happening today.
No, out of the loop on that one, I guess.
Yeah, I blame Nico and Zeddy for not tweeting enough about it. They are my inside to all things award shows. So
fair.
if either of you are watching in the comments right now, I blame you.
I think they're both dialed into the show right now.
I was going to say they're not watching. They're watching the Golden Globes, of course.
I think they're watching it.
Chris, how was your holidays? How was we've been gone off for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
We've had Christmas and New Year's come and go. How was the holidays for you and the family?
Yeah, they were good. They're just a little tiring. It felt this year, for whatever reason, just felt like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm just kind of glad it's over. I think like December 26th, I was ready. It's spooky season. Let's get ready.
Yeah, I was expecting you to tweet something about that, like a GIF of Michael Myers or something.
I did. I don't remember what GIF I used, but yeah. Christmas is over. Let's just get to spooky season again. That's the spectrum we work with.
Yeah, that's right. December, and then the rest of the year is Halloween and spooky season.
Yes, I have no use for the rest of the months of the year. Just get me from September-ish to December 26th, and I'm happy.
That's right. Yeah, well, I'm sure Phil agrees with you. Phil Walsh, our buddy, he's all about the spooky season as well. So he co-signs.
The spooky season and the holiday season, that's all I need. I don't need the rest of the year.
Yeah,
but it was good. How was yours?
Yeah, I agree with you about it being a lot this year. And like my family, my wife and I, we tried to do less. Like we tried to do less gifting and less just things with the kids and trying just to be more, I don't know, around and hanging around. But it still felt like by Christmas Day at like 7:00, we were completely done. We went home. We left. We were at my aunt's for Christmas dinner. We left at like 7:00. Like dinner was over. We're like, okay, we're leaving. Goodbye. Like we just can't do this anymore. It's just so much. Even when you try to not put pressure on yourself and make it a stressful thing, it doesn't matter what you do. The time of year is it's too much, Chris.
I think it's just the beauty of the holidays as an adult. I think it just comes with it, and I don't mind it. It's like I said, it's part of it, but it is funny because you think about when you were a kid, none of this mattered.
Nope.
Every day was this wonderful countdown to just Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And then you enjoyed all Christmas Day without even feeling tired. But now it's like around noon, I was like, okay, I could just go back to sleep. You know?
Yeah. It didn't feel long enough either. Like we had 2 weeks. We were sick for a lot of it, at least for the last week or so. And the kids go back to school tomorrow, and both of my kids just are not excited for tomorrow morning in any sense.
Yeah, I think that we need to extend the spooky season, holiday season. So if we could start spooky season like in March, and maybe start the holidays like Christmas and stuff in November 1st still, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if we could really extend that.
No, it definitely should be. That's for sure.
Yeah, with Halloween in the way, unless we move Halloween, which I'm all for too.
Yeah, just a little earlier in the year.
Yeah, we could do that.
little summer Halloween.
I'm gonna make my own Aztec calendar.
Yeah, Chris's Mayan calendar. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Derek says he basically did all his celebrating on Eve and did a rest day on Christmas Day. Yeah, a lot of people, that's the way I remembered as a kid. That's what we would do. But now we just don't do it that way.
That's what always confuses me about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is they have Christmas dinner on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, that's the way my family would always do.
Here? Yeah, like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like, have the big dinner on Christmas Eve and then just stay home all Christmas Day. That sounds great.
I mean, like we would do our big like Christmas gathering on Christmas Eve, and then the next
Mm-hmm.
we would be like visiting friends and family. So
Mm-hmm.
a little different, but here, since Michael Myers gets confused why Halloween moved on the wrong day. Nobody
Yeah.
picked him up.
Well, if you move it to summer too, there's no way he can wear that jumpsuit. It'll
I
just be
like to
too
see
damn
him.
hot. It'd
Well,
be
no,
too damn hot.
in Illinois he can.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it just gets always cold in Chicago.
In Texas, he'll have a heat stroke, so you don't even need like a final girl.
Okay, Chris, we got a couple things going on today on the show. We're going to be talking about some of our favorites from 2023. Last year, we kind of ranked them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This year, we're changing it up and just not ranking them. We're just going to be talking about some of our favorites. And we were going to do a draft as well. I wasn't sure if you remembered, though.
I did, but
Okay, good.
did I do homework? No.
Okay, so and I have thought about this, and you kind of reminded me at the start of the show that it was the Golden Globes. Maybe there wasn't a lot of people going to be watching, so I was thinking maybe we could wait until next week to do that. What do you think about that idea? I think this could be a fun one, and I wanted a little more listener participation with it as well.
Okay.
So maybe we can wait until next week to do our draft, and it gives you some more time to not do some homework. Okay.
Bingo.
All right. All right. Okay, so let's just yeah.
Michael.
Okay, so let's just talk about the year that was then. The year that was 2023. When we were making or decided we were going to do this, we didn't talk about video games. We can do that quickly too, but there's really not that much to talk about. I think we're basically talking about only one game.
The only one that matters.
Yeah. But I like to think is this year is the year that everyone thinks where not much happened, but a lot of stuff happened. Like there was a ton of content this year, whether it be TVs, movies, or comics. I think comics is maybe a little bit of the underrated one. I think there was a lot of comics this year.
There were a lot.
There was a lot of comics this year, and some of them were hard to remember. That's for sure. So doing my homework really helped trying to understand all the comics that came out January, February, and March. That long lost 3 months of the early part of the year. But what was kind of your overall thoughts of the year that you and I had talking about all of this stuff? Do you think it was a good year? Do you think it was a bad year? What do you think about the year of 2023?
There was a lot of content. Like no matter what you liked, there was something for you, which speaks volumes, because I think in the last since the pandemic, it's been kind of spotty. I think you might have had one sector that you were happy with, but there was like, I didn't get that. This year though, or 2023, you got a little bit of everything. And so I would say, like, entertainment wise, which covers movies, TV, comics, and I actually would lump games in there because the one that we both care about was a huge deal for both of us.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so I think 2023 was a solid year.
Yeah, totally agree with
it was
with all
the best, better than the rest.
Yeah, I'll say I think obviously you watched a lot more new movies than me this year. Just going to the theater more than me. So my list is pretty simplified. One of the big ones that I really hate that I haven't watched it is the Iron Claw, which I think I'm really going to enjoy. So so just a kind of a preface for anyone who's watching. These are Chris and I's favorite things that we watched this year or read this year. With the preface that we still missed a lot of stuff, and usually in January and February is the time that I spend catching up on things when they're on streaming, and what have you, or whenever I catch up on things. So just a little preface there. So Chris, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with movies, comics, TV shows?
So I would say it's fancy, but I order our banners a certain way so I could remember what to press. So we're going to start with comics because that's the one I put first.
Yeah, it works for me. Where do you want to start with your comics, Chris?
So this is a year, and I know we talked about this a few weeks back. We both read a ton of number ones.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that we may have kept some of these indie publishers in business from all the number ones that we've read. So I want to name a couple of the number ones
Hmm.
that I thought were special. I don't know if you're on the same, if you have some of those too.
I have nothing like that, so this is great.
Fun. Okay. So the Deviant number one
Ooh,
recently,
nice.
that was a good time. I like
Hmm.
that. Have I read the second one? No. Will I? Probably. Probably. I will get to it. Knights number one. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, you did.
Um, that's 4 issues in. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I know. I saw that the other day too. I'm like, Chris was just talking about that last week, wasn't he?
I thought it was like the second issue. So again, I'll get to it, but solid number one issue. This is a good time to circle back to stuff too.
Hmm.
Another number one was actually from Marvel. It was Blade's daughter. I think it's called Daughter of Blade.
Yeah, yeah.
That was it. That was a good title. And I'm going to talk more about this book later, but Where Monsters Lie. That was such a strong number one.
Hmm.
Like that was really, really great. And
Hmm.
Ian actually reminded me of a great one. Swan Song's number one. I have not read any other ones, but this was excellent. Like top tier, I think, as far as the number one goes.
Yeah, I've got Where Monsters Lie on my favorite books of the year, and I remember that first issue too. I can't remember why we read it. I assume probably something to do with the cover, something to do with serial killers.
I think I saw Lost in Comics talk. I think Chris was talking about it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was such a cool surprise, how that first issue and the subsequent 4 or 5 issues after that just didn't hold back.
Mm.
It just went for it with the violence and the kind of the I don't know, the out there concept of like a neighborhood of serial killers just living a life.
Mm-hmm.
It just
Hanging out.
that book surprised me so much.
Yeah, it surprised me too, just because of what it was.
Hmm.
Because it's not a concept that you would like. Oh, that sounds like it's not something we've seen before. I guess
Yeah.
you don't see that many of those kind of characters in one spot, and then they're all
Hmm.
like a different stereotype, which makes it more fun.
Yep.
Phil says One Bad Day is epic. Eric also One
Hmm.
Bad Day on my list as much as it tells a story. But the thing, One Bad Day was actually 2022.
Yeah, it was split. It was
Yeah.
split because I actually have One Bad Day Clayface on my favorites of 2023. I think that one came out in February, but like I
Yeah.
think if you were to pick one, like your Two Face one, that one came out in 2022.
Yeah, that's all. Because I
Mhm.
was like, I saw the comments. I was looking like, was that this year? Because
Yeah,
it feels like it was so much this year anyway. It
yeah,
makes me cry. I
yeah,
was like, maybe that was because I put that on my list.
yeah,
But anyway.
exactly. Yeah. I have So One Bad Day Clayface was my favorite issue of the One Bad Day series, even with the Riddler one, which I really really dug. But yeah, that Clayface one was just something different. The Clayface that I remember is just the one from the animated series, just a big blob.
Yeah, the big shit
Um,
monster.
yeah, exactly. Not much of the actual, the impersonator aspect of it, the
Mm-hmm.
actor. That stuff I didn't really get much from the animated series. So just getting more of that from One Bad Day, just even the Ra's al Ghul one that came after that one is really good too. But yeah, One Bad Day could be and should be on a lot of people's best of list for. I think it was for 2022 when we talked about it. I'd have to go back and look at a list if we
Yeah,
had one. But
probably.
yeah.
Because I the Two Face one, I would have talked about that.
Hmm. Yeah, so we both have Where Monsters Lie on our best ofs there. One Bad Day, if it works. 2023. What else you got on your list?
The Blade book. The Blade book was a very nice surprise this year. He's a character I enjoy. I don't know like a ton about him, but that's just because there's not a lot out there. You have Tomb of Dracula, which is the most famous story, of course, and
Hmm.
after that, it's the movies.
That's what surprised me about this when the book came out. Like, why hasn't there been more? Like, what happened since the movies came out and there's no comic? Like, that just surprised me. And I remember I read that was one of the one issues that I read and then didn't read any after that.
Mm.
I remember when we both read that number one, how like grand and movie like that
Mm-hmm.
first issue felt. Like it felt like this was just like the Wesley Snipes movie where it felt grand and the action was big. I had a great time with that first issue.
Yeah, and the series it's on the same trajectory. It just keeps going. It's very
Yeah.
cinematic, very grand. So that's definitely one of my favorites of the year.
Nice.
Another favorite of the year, also actually, I think a lot of my favorites are for Marvel.
That's good.
Moon Knight. Even though I just caught up with it in the last week of December,
Hey, you cut it up. Hey, that's 2023. You did it.
I did it. I did it in the time frame that So I'm cool. I'm in the time frame. But Moon Knight, Jed McKay, just I've gushed about it enough. I think everybody knows I love the
Mhm.
book, and I also
Mhm.
like Vengeance and Moon Knight, which just came out. So Moon Knight's on
Yeah,
there. Predator versus Wolverine is on my list. It's one of my
seen that
favorites.
one. Mhm.
This book is just stupid fun.
Yeah.
I don't even care what the story is. I don't think anybody really needs a story. It's
Mhm.
a predator that tracks Wolverine over the years. I don't know what else you need.
Do you know why he's doing that?
Nobody cares. No, the reason he's doing
That's
it,
it.
um, I'm trying to remember actually. It's in the
Mhm.
first issue. They just kind of come in contact with each other, and the
Yeah.
predator could not kill Wolverine,
Right.
and he leaves like a lasting impression on him. So
Mhm.
that's how that worked out.
That's funny.
But it's 4 issues, and it's wonderful.
Beautiful.
Yes, that one's on there. I don't think X Lives Next Deaths of Wolverine was that year, but I should have checked before we did this.
I don't know.
But that was good. If whatever year it was in.
If it was this year, it's on my list.
If it was, it's on my list. But that's it for the Marvel books for me.
Hmm.
I think. Yeah, I swore off X-Men in 2023, unless it was Wolverine, just because
Mhm.
I am tired of Krakoa. I'm
Mhm.
done. Now
Well,
this year,
all of
Krakoa is ending.
Krakoa. Mhm.
Yeah, Krakoa is finally ending, so maybe I'll pick it back up this year.
Can always hope that they just learn some lessons and just tell a freaking straight story about the X-Men.
One day, one fine day,
One fine day.
one fine day, we'll get to that. Let's get some of the comments. Ian
Sure.
was a big fan of Transformers.
Hmm.
I think you were too. Did you? Are you caught up
Of
on that?
number one and number two, yes, and I haven't read anything since then. I just haven't caught up yet.
Okay. Traveling to Mars started late 2022, but most issues dropped this year. LMC Chris kept recommending it. I read 6 issues yesterday, and it's so good.
Yeah, that's one I got to catch up on, or not catch up on, but read because I'm pretty sure. When I was watching the nomination show for Lost in Comics, all four of the people on the show were so high on it. I hadn't really heard about it
I have no idea what it
before,
is.
so yeah, me neither. But that's something I'm going to check out at the early part of this year too.
Um, what do you have any from the big two as far as best of? Other than
Yeah, so I have nothing from Marvel, but yeah, I have my favorite Batman book of the year was Batman: City of Madness from Christian Ward.
solid number one.
So yeah, all right, next year we're just gonna do our best number ones of the
Yes.
year. That book, after I read the first one, I'm like, oh, there's just so much going on. Like the book is good, but there's just too much going on. But when the second issue came out, I read the first one again, and I just really started to dig this Gotham from Below and the Batman from Below. I really started to enjoy and appreciate the art a lot more from Christian Ward. So that's my favorite Batman book of the year, even with the Clayface one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that one, and then the other one from DC is the Wonder Woman run from Tom King
That's
and Sam Pierre. That's another one, and I'm going to steal this line from the Lost in Comics nomination show, but this got me reading Wonder Woman. Aside from Dead Earth, which was the Black Label thing, I had never really read an ongoing Wonder Woman before.
mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to check out the Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chang run.
I have to.
Yeah, from I think that was before New 52, or was the New 52? I can't
Oh, that
remember.
was New 52.
I think, yeah,
Azzarello came around that time, I believe.
right. So I've always wanted to read that one, but I hadn't. But yeah, the Tom King run is just it's so well written, and Sam Pierre on art, who draws like a classic superhero perfectly. I really really dig this book, and it actually made me buy the single issues, which I have been doing now. So this will be my first, aside from Dead Earth, Wonder Woman single issue comics that I'm gonna collect monthly. So those are my three. Wonder Woman, Batman One Day, and Batman City of Madness are my DC books of the year.
It's pretty solid. The Wonder Woman one was surprising to me also because I hadn't read a monthly Wonder Woman book before. And it's weird because I like the character a lot. I think the character is great.
That's the weirdest thing about it, and that's the thing. It's just this book got me to read it. This one got me to say, finally, I need to read a Wonder Woman book.
There's some characters like I enjoy just watching and stuff, or like if they're in a team up, that's cool. I don't really ever feel like, oh, I have to read that solo. But with this Wonder Woman book, we're going to cross over on that one.
Well, yeah, like I think about that with Nightwing all the time. There should be no reason that I'm not reading Nightwing. Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo. I haven't gotten to it. There hasn't been something that's got me to Nightwing, and I know that it's a great book, and I know that I would like it, but it just never got to it. But so in the Wonder Woman vein, I finally said, "That's it. I'm reading Wonder Woman," and I love the book.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really glad it's still going. It's going to keep going. Frank says the current Green Lantern is really good. I've heard nothing but great stuff about that book and the Shazam book.
Same. Yeah, 100%. I've heard the exact same.
Yeah, I want to read that and Shazam. I got to get to that. When we have some downtime, I suppose. Because the holidays was not downtime.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was expecting too. I was like, all right, let's get some comics read.
No. They were not. There was no downtime.
Didn't happen.
So with the big two out of the way, because I think for DC, I would go City of Madness. And I've kind of been back and forth on Zdarsky's run. Like I like it and I don't like it. But I'm really liking the currents, like the last few issues.
Yep.
I'm really digging these last few issues.
And it gets me even more excited for the Joker Year 1 stuff.
I'm very excited for Joker Year 1.
Yeah.
Cannot wait for that. But I'd probably go City of Madness, Wonder Woman, and the Superman book. Philip K. Johnson.
Action Comics. Yeah, you dug into that pretty heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. I like that a lot. You were just in time, Chris.
That's hilarious.
Well, Chris is also a big Batman fan, for you guys who don't know. What was your favorite Bat book this year, Chris? Frank says DC is killing it when it comes to the corners of the DC universe. There's something for everyone. I think so too. That's something they've gotten so much better with, because I think before it was just, if you weren't reading Batman or you weren't reading Superman, nothing else mattered. Right. But now we're getting people who are reading these other characters and becoming fans of them, and that's fantastic.
Yep, 100%.
And these great, talented people are getting attached to these books, which is even better. Like Dan Mora does the art for Shazam.
Yeah, DC's got killer talent right now. And Ian says it here about World's Finest. That's another one. I need to read World's Finest. I just,
I need to read more of it. The little bit I read, it wasn't really for me. But, you know what? Batman and Robin. I really like Batman and Robin. Nice. That was a favorite. You know, and I had another thought. I just forgot it.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, it probably wasn't that important. It was DC related. Yeah, I don't know. Chris says Detective Comics really came through for me. The book went from to superb. Loved it. I've been hearing that.
Well, and we felt the same way about the went from. That's how we felt about the book when it started. So if we would have kept on, I assume we probably would feel the same way that Chris does too.
I'll catch up with it because I am curious. And those covers are beautiful.
So great.
I just remember what it was. The Joker baby story. I'm going to put that on my top list.
Yeah.
It is just it's a good time. It's not the best, but it's a good time. Joker raising a child that's Batman is amazing. Especially when he goes to like the Social Security office and the welfare offices, and he's in full Joker makeup and everything, and nobody's like, hey, that's a murderer. Ian also says Detective Comics did take a massive turn from meh to great. Frank says if you like Deceased, you should check out Titan's Beast World. Ooh, I do like Deceased.
Yeah, that's Tom Taylor's new one that is spun off of what? That's spun off of something.
It's spun off of the last event, the Nightmare thing. What was it called? Was it called Nightmare?
Night Terrors. Night Terrors. Terror Nights? Night Terrors.
Yeah. Night Terrors, yeah. Which I liked until the last couple issues.
Yeah.
But I if it's like Deceased, I think I'll check that out. So that wraps up, I think, the big two for us. Now, when we get out of the big two, I think this is where it starts to get crazy. This is where it gets wild here. One of my favorites, and it's still ongoing, is Kill Your Darlings.
Mm-hmm.
I love this book. It's so much to handle because like there's points of it that are really like fluffy, and then it gets incredibly dark.
Yep.
Like the first issue, you had no idea what it was, and then when you read those final pages, like no, no.
Yeah, and once it goes into what is it, the dream world or whatever?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a word for it. I forgot what it is.
Yeah.
But that's really high on my list of
Mm-hmm.
2023.
Yeah, I think that when it's all said and done, will go down as a really great Image book.
Yes,
I think I've only read the first two. The one where the elephant is introduced into the second
I
one.
love the Elephant
I
Wallace.
didn't. I didn't read the other ones after that. But yeah, I remember like loving um, those first two, and kind of an interesting idea, an interesting spin on imagination, and dream worlds and
Mhm.
imaginary friends and all that kind of stuff. On the backdrop of a very serious issue, which I think is a trend for a couple of books that we may talk about. That cuddly cutesy thing
It's
with
wild.
some with the more serious stuff.
Oh, I know where that's headed. Um, yeah, so Kill Your Darlings, that's one of my absolute favorites of last year.
Hmm.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing how it wraps up this year now.
Hmm.
Let's go right into what you were talking about, though, because I think I've been waiting to talk about this one.
Yep.
Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees.
Yep.
Not only is it fun to say, it's fun to read.
It's fun to read. It's fun to look at.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to
Cherry
smile at and
gherkins.
say this. Cherry fucking gherkins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we every time we talk about it, this is what we love about the comic genre, and this is what I like about horror sometimes too, is the comedy aspect and the fun aspect to horror. And that's where I kind of get with this, with the serial killer nature to it, but then they're friggin' animals and they say funny things sometimes, like cherry fucking gherkins. So,
Mm-hmm. It's like a running joke throughout that issue.
yep.
And I know we only got 2 issues last year, but they were so strong, they got to make the best of list, I think. Because even if
And
that book dips a little bit in quality, it's
mhm.
still pretty good.
Yeah, and the book looks great too. I love the art style. I like the covers, like in even the second printing cover of the first one, where it's got what's his name, the main character, the bear.
Sam.
Yeah, with their knife.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got, I think it's got a quote from Patton Oswalt on it, something about cuddly and bloody or something like that. And it's just like, oh, that's so funny. And you mentioned the last time we were talking about this, the I don't know, kind of the juxtaposition of the covers,
Yeah.
on who is on the cover and what happens to them in that issue. So I think it's a very imaginative book. It's a lot of fun.
Frank says, Beneath the Trees is making you root for the serial to catch a serial killer. Go, cute little bear. Absolutely.
He gets
I
it,
want
Frank.
to.
You get
I want to see an animal showdown.
it.
An animal serial killer showdown. That's what we need. Okay, I figured that would be on both of our lists. So
Yep. Yeah, great fun
this
with
is
that one.
this is another one on both of our lists, I believe. The Devil Who Wears My Face.
Yeah.
I'm glad Eric's enjoying this too, because Eric likes a
Nice.
lot of religious stuff. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of surprised he likes this one.
Mm-hmm.
This so 2022 was also a lot of horror books. Like there was,
So many good ones.
yeah, I want to say like 50% of what we read were horror.
Mm-hmm.
Not complaining at
Yeah.
all. I enjoy
I
that.
was thinking about that when we were talking about them. Oh, another horror book to talk about. Oh, another horror book to talk about.
I'm in for it. I like it. But this book, this is one of those times I saw a cover, like, oh, I want to read that because that's how I do
Mm-hmm.
things, and it really delivered. And it's very spooky. Like I think a lot of times a horror book, they want it to be scary and spooky, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really not. Just because of the medium, I think it doesn't really lend itself to horror that well, like that kind of
Mm-hmm.
horror. I think
Mm-hmm.
so. You really have to nail the story, is what
Mm.
you're going to go for. But in The Devil That Wears My Face, not only does it nail the story, but the visuals completely back it up and do give you that uneasy feeling.
Yeah,
Plus, the subject.
that's exactly my thought too. Specifically, all those first two issues where the third issue, the story dipped a little bit for me, but those
Mhm.
first the art was just as good. But those first two issues where the story was moving it at such a bloody fast pace, and then the art was right there with it. With some crazy splash pages of the demon and
Beautiful
just some.
splash pages.
Yeah, exactly. and the blood and everything. I thought that the art just stayed really well with the story. And I think the cohesion between the two made those first two issues for me just so enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a solid time.
Mm-hmm.
Eric says more horror than I expected. Yeah, me too. I didn't expect it to get as intense as it does. But I really, really like it. It says one of the best comics I read this year was a manga, and I'm not usually a manga kind of guy. It's called Goodbye, Harry. Yuri. I recommend it. Not familiar with that one.
Don't know that one either.
What's
Manga for me.
What are some of your other picks?
What else do I got on here? So I've got Swan Songs as well. I've got Fish Flies from Jeff Lemire on here. The physical books came out this year, but I read it last year on Lemire's Substack. But I'm just including it here because it's physical now, and the physical copies are great. A little bit of oversized issues, which I love. And then the other one I have on here is just Saga issues. I want to say 61 to 66. I think came out this past year. I know a lot of people are kind of down on Saga lately because they don't feel like it's the same. And I agree with that, that it's not the same. But I think the quality is still great. I think the story is incredibly interesting, and the art from Fiona Staples is still incredible. I think they're one of the best artists all around. They do the color and the pencils, and they're just as much a creative with Brian K. Vaughan as anyone. So I always love Saga. I think I'm always going to love Saga, even if it's bad. I don't think I'll be able to see it.
That's
I don't think I'll be able. I think I just have Saga glasses on most of the time.
I think that's fine. Saga is one of those books I think that has such a following. It's got to go really downhill, I think, for someone to like completely abandon it.
Yeah, I think so.
I really liked what we read of it. I think we read like 12 issues or something.
Yeah, I think we read the first two arcs of it for sure.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It just at the time there was a lot coming out, and whenever I know I have 100 issues to get to, it's going to take me longer.
And it just keeps going, right? It's up to issue 66 now. It's so hard to get caught up sometimes, unless you do like you and you just spent a weekend binging Moon Knight and Action Comics.
I had to do what was right.
Yeah, I had to do what was needed of me.
When Khonshu calls, you answer. That's how it works.
That's right.
It says Samana was fantastic. You were bigger on that than I was. Would that make your best of list?
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that, and I didn't think about the other distillery book that came out this year, either Gone, but I don't think Gone would make it. But Somna was great. I had an awesome time with that one, and much like we were talking about the cohesion between the art and the story of The Devil That Wears My Face, I think Somna has that same. I think the cohesion between the art and the story and words from Becky Cloonan, I think they just mirror perfectly together. I love the sex and demons in this book. I love the oversized issue. Again, any oversized issue that I've ever read is great. And maybe that's my saga glasses on, where if it's a bigger issue and they spend more time and quality on the issue, I just enjoy it more. But I had a great time with Somna. I can't wait for the next issue.
Nice. Ian also mentions Briars being one of the most beautiful books this year. I don't remember if I read Briar. I think I did, but I remember nothing about it. Frank says Sean Murphy's Zorro book comes out next week, but I can't wait to check it out. I'm really excited for this book, actually. And nobody is talking about it, and I don't know why.
The Lee Bermejo cover is so great.
Yeah, no, Zorro I think is going to be a really good book. I'm excited.
Yeah. It's not a major publisher there, is it, though?
I thought it was like not a self-published, but like a much smaller company.
Yeah, it's a Kickstarter from last year.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is coming out now, but yeah, I just know that Lee Bermejo cover is so freaking great.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for that. I like Zorro stuff, so I'm excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fish flies. Fireflies, fish flies. Fireflies is Last of Us, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
The last two books I wanted to mention, I was kind of gloss over them. Dracula. We got one issue left, and I think Dracula is, I don't want to say it's a masterpiece, but it's pretty damn good.
It is so good. It didn't make my list. It's not on my list either, but I don't know why that I don't know why it's not. Maybe it's too good. It's too good not to be on my list. But yeah, no, it's funny because when we both read that first issue, we were like, "Oh, the art! I wish the art was better, or I wish we enjoyed the art more."
I've warmed up to the art. I like it now.
Exactly. It was warmed up to the art. The story is so good, and that it helps in the art. Who is the artist on it?
Al Simmons, I think. No,
Yeah,
Al
that's
Simmons
right.
is Spawn. Martin Simmons.
Yeah. Yeah, Martin Simmons. They did the art for Swan Song's #1 as well. They're an acquired taste, and I think the more you look at it, the easier it is to appreciate.
I haven't bought a physical book. When does this happen?
Yeah. What is that? Yeah, that's like me going to the movie theater, folks.
Yeah, I bought an actual physical book, but I only bought it because I wanted a specific cover that I couldn't find.
So I got the one I couldn't get.
I got the one I could have got at any other store.
That's the best thing about the story, Chris. Oh,
I wanted a specific cover, couldn't get it, so I settled, and I still bought it. But anyway, yeah, that's Dracula's top notch.
I agree.
Chris says Zorro's It's Whatnot Publishing under the massive imprint. I haven't heard of that company. I
don't know that one. I'm surprised it wasn't picked up by anyone.
I am too. Sean, I mean, the writer's great. Zorro's a big character. Why not? Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's going to be more Universal monsters. I kind of hope there will be.
Hope so.
But I feel like this one might have just been a passion project.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the few that actually works out.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Drac was the kickoff. There's supposed to be more from other creators. Well, there we go.
And I hope they're short, too. Like, as much as I don't want Dracula to end, I kind of like the tell a story and move on nature to it as well.
Well, they're really, like Dracula, for example, is just an extension of the movie.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine the rest of them will be, too.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious to see what other characters they do and what characters' point of view it'll focus on. Phantom of the Opera is the one that I really would like to see.
That's the interesting thing about Dracula is the Renfield character, how important they are in the book, and how, I don't want to say little Dracula is in it, but how he's not the main character in the book.
But he's so effective.
So every time you see him, you're like, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, the last book I want to bring up, which I remember the name, is Night Fever from Brubaker.
Perfect. Thank you for doing that, because I had forgotten about that one.
Absolutely loved Night Fever. I think I don't know if it's my book of the year, but if I was going to do a top 3, it's in the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Night Fever.
Yeah, that was one that I didn't enjoy as much as you did, but I really enjoyed Night Fever. You and I both talked about the art in that one a lot, the mood, and the setting of the story. I love Ed Brubaker and Sean somebody, not Murphy.
No.
Crud.
Sean the artist.
Phillips. Him and his son do colors and lines on a lot of the Brubaker books. But yeah, Night Fever is a great book. I love that team. I was hoping to put Where the Body Was, but we didn't get it this year in Canada. It comes out in a couple of weeks. You guys in America got it a couple of weeks ago. So I'm looking forward to dig that one too. But yeah, Night Fever was great. Love their hardcovers. Beautiful to hold in the hands and beautiful to look at.
Just a fun mystery.
That's the good thing about it too. Like, I was thinking about that the other day, and we were talking about how good the horror comics are. Like, I love crime mystery comics, and that's why the Deviant's a little bit like that. It's got the horror nature to it as well, but there's also the mystery aspect of it. Those are some of my favorite comics to read.
I like mystery.
Mystery.
Dracula, the few books that I love the art more than the writing.
Oh.
They're both excellent, but that art sings Dracula. Yeah, something about it. I didn't like it at first, but I really warmed up to it. It's very fitting, especially with the Renfield stuff. Really, really good. Any other comics you want to mention?
No, that's all I got for comics this year. I wish I read some more, as many as there were. I wish I kept up on a lot of things, not just reading those #1s. But I haven't looked over for the start of the year. This year, hopefully there's some time. I don't know if there's any big events.
There's never any time.
To get caught
comics just keep rolling.
They just keep going. You're right.
I missed an issue of Red Light. Now I think it's up to 3 or 4. And World Tree. I missed World Tree.
Yep.
Which was great. #1 and 2, 3, whatever I read. We'll get to it.
That's right.
Next on the docket.
Mhm. TV.
You go first.
Nice. All right, so I'm going to go with The Bear season 2. Season 1 has made this show one of my favorite shows of all time, and season 2 was incredible as well. I always have, I always think about the show, and it's always a show that I check out clips on YouTube every time I'm scrolling through YouTube, and there's a clip that comes up. It's a very clippable show that way. But I dug the emotion and the heart in The Bear season 2. And I appreciated how the show made me feel and how I connected with the show, but how different I am from the characters in the show. They're in the culinary industry. They live in Chicago. They have a big family. It has nothing to do with me, but the character of Carmi, I identify with greatly. The idea of failure and not being good enough is something I think about with myself all the time. And being connected with a character when you're watching a TV show helps a lot. The writing it is great. The cast of characters in season 2 is very large. Particularly one episode where it's got John Mulaney in it, Jamie Lee Curtis, Bob Odenkirk, and others. So I had a great time with The Bear season 2, and as we're recording this right now, Jeremy Allen White just won Best Actor for a comedy show at the Golden Globes. So The Bear season 2 is probably my show of the year, but I've got another show after this to talk about too. What else? What do you got on your list? I don't think we're gonna have very much crossover on TV shows this year. I think except for one.
Well, I didn't watch a lot of TV shows this year, and I forgot one TV show even happened last year.
That's the show I think we're going to connect on.
Yes. So I'll leave that one last. Ted Lasso was the finale was last year.
Yep, that's a good one.
Yeah, that was a huge one for me. As anybody knows, I am a pretty big Ted Lasso fan. I miss Ted.
That's the other thing. That's the biggest thing for me is I miss watching Ted Lasso. And I said that after the show ended, and I still think that every week. I miss having that show to watch.
I miss Ted.
Yep.
And I know they were talking about a spinoff of some sort, but if Ted's not in it, it's not the same.
Right.
I'll watch it, of course, because it's there, but it's not the same for me. Ted Lasso was a big one. I know we're both going to talk about Succession. So I think we have two that we'll cross over with.
Okay, that's fair. Yep.
Yeah, Succession. Ian's in the comments with his, and I have to agree with his number 2, Ahsoka. I really loved Ahsoka. So that was a big one for me because I was actually fairly tired of Star Wars.
Yeah.
To be honest, I had Star Wars fatigue, if that's a thing. I didn't really care for the Boba Fett show. I didn't even finish Mandalorian season 3. I was pretty much checked out. And then that was just glorious. I enjoyed every episode of Ahsoka. And so I'll go with that one. Last of Us. Last of Us was something that I figured I was going to like, but I went to it blindly because I hadn't played the games. That's a show I came out the other end really enjoying. And I know you did too.
Yep.
So those are, I guess, would be my favorites. I didn't really watch a lot of TV. Oh, and I actually, The Fall of the House of Usher belongs on this list.
100%.
That was 10 out of 10, I think.
Yeah. So just going back to Succession, that last season was. It seems so long ago.
It does.
Was that in the summer that came out?
Which one?
The Succession.
No, that was like the first part of the year.
Was it? Yeah. So that's why it felt so long ago. But
I want to say it premiered in February.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about that. Just you and I talking about it weekly, and seeing the discourse online, like just the craft of Succession was, I think, unmatched this year. The craft of the acting from all involved, the way the story went in all its twists and turns was pretty incredible. The Last of Us, you went into it blind. I went into it the exact opposite, and yet they still subverted my expectations for what the show could be. again, the same kind of thing with Succession with the class. I think The Last of Us had some class, specifically with the third episode, the Bill and Frank episode.
Oh yeah.
Where it just went beyond with what I expected the show to even think about doing. Considering Bill is a side character and basically his storyline in the game is action focused, has nothing to do with a love story at all. The heartfelt moments were still there. The heart, and gut punching moments of the video game were still there in the TV show. So yeah, real incredible show. That way. I'm going to go with Eric on this one and say Strange New World Season 2. A little Star Trek action. It's some of my favorite Star Trek that's ever come out ever. So it's really, really great.
Are you putting your picks in an order?
What's that?
Are you putting your picks in an order? Because I'm just winging it.
No, shit, no.
Okay,
cool. I've got Barry on here too. I know you didn't enjoy Barry as much as I did, but no. I love that last season. I love those last couple episodes where the show just went completely bonkers. With time jumps and weird things with Fred Armisen popping up in an episode for no reason and getting his hand shot off. Weird ending to the show with a little bit of, I guess I want to say a social commentary built into it about gun violence and all that kind of stuff in America. But I had a great time with Barry, and it's that's one of my favorite HBO shows as well. My second favorite show of the year after The Bear, though, is Gen V. The Boys Club. Yeah, that was a show that I didn't expect to like as much as I did, and I had a great time with Gen V. I can't wait for. The Boys season 4 is coming out this year, and then we're going to get a season 2 of Gen V as well. I can't wait. It's one of my favorite shows of 2023.
I like the first 5 episodes of The Boys. Eventually. Eric mentioned Only Murders in the Building, which I kind of forgot happened last year.
That's the thing, and that was the thing with with you mentioning Ted Lasso. I'm like, oh man, that didn't happen in 2022. Like, what's happening here? And I thought the same thing about Only Murders as well. You and I loved Only Murders a lot more than some of our other people did. I know Ian was a little down on it this year, much like he was down on Ted Lasso, but I had a great time with Only Murders, and another show where it needed to change things up and be a little bit different. I thought that it was. We'll see what happens in the next season, but just the trio make that show for you sometimes, and sometimes that's all you need. That's all I needed sometimes.
Yeah, just the core performances, they kind of sell the show.
Yep.
Chris only watched House of Usher because of me. I'm glad you loved it at that point. It would have sucked if you didn't like it. But that was a good show.
Yeah, I when I was making my list, I had forgotten about The Fall of the House of Usher. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it was one of my only binges that were on my list this year. I think everything else was a weekly watch. Yeah.
And it wasn't it wasn't a weekly watch. I think we both watched it in like a week.
Yeah.
And that was also October where I was just watching nonstop horror. So for me, I kind of did forget that it existed.
Yeah.
Because everything was just horror that month.
Yep.
Ian says we should check out Top Boy. I have no idea what that is. Do
you? Top Boy. Well, that says Top By, not Top By.
Top By. Remember that a couple of great episodes. The rest were average. I feel like that GIF from Big Lebowski. It's like your opinion, man.
That's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know Top Boy.
Yeah, I'll look into it though. I'm curious. I think for TV shows, I don't really remember watching anything else that stood out to me. I thought I watched something animated, but I guess I didn't.
Animated TV show?
I thought there was something animated. Was there not a Masters of the Universe last year?
Oh God, was that last year?
Was it? I don't know.
Jeez, man.
It's funny because when I was thinking about the favorites, I meant to sit down and kind of check the release dates of things, and in my head I did, but I now have forgotten already. So
yeah, TV is always a funny thing, and it's much like movies are too. But I always get caught up on TV and movies more than we were talking about comic books. But like I watched a TV show this year that came out 3 years ago. Like I hadn't even heard about it. It could have been brand new for me.
Like 6 Feet Under.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sure, I never heard of the show. I'll watch it now. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Let's make this my best of 2023. Who cares?
Oh, yeah, and I started watching Young Sheldon that too.
Yeah.
Because I secretly browse your X timeline when the wife and I are trying to figure out what to watch next. Well, then I can't wait for you guys to get to Saltburn.
Yeah, the only time you can do that is 3:00 in the morning, though, Chris. That's when he's posting and messaging people and letting them know that he watched something.
No, I've started to do my. I let it marinate overnight, and then the next day.
So you're getting smart with it. That's good.
It's better to let it marinate, I think. Because after Saltburn last night, I wanted to talk to anybody about it, but nobody was around, so I just waited.
Yeah. Oh my God! Right, they're sleeping.
Yeah, oh no, it's 3:00 in the morning. Only I am awake for no reason. Frank says, I am behind on everything. It's hard to keep my attention. Think the older I get, the more stupid I get. No, I think that's just time, man.
Frank, I agree with you.
It's time
this
management.
time right here.
Because we talk about this all the time. There's things like when I have the free time, I don't want to put the free time to do it or to watch it. I'd rather throw on something I've seen 1,000 times. Like that's why, like Fever Pitch. I have seen that movie an infinite number of times, and I will continue to do so. What was the best single episode of TV in 2023? Oh, okay. So the first episode that came to mind, spoiler if you guys haven't watched it, it's been a year. The episode after Logan's death in Succession.
That's what I was thinking too. Not the Logan episode, but
no, the one afterwards.
Yeah, that's
where the kids come together and they do the cry.
Yep.
Yeah, I would go with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Fishes on The Bear season 2. That's the flashback episode where everyone is in, all the family comes together and it's just getting hit over the head with emotion. So that's probably my favorite episode of the year.
Yeah, there's I don't want to say there's too much content because we went too long without having a lot of content.
Yep.
So, yeah, there is so much, but is it too much? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like it. I'll get to it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Get to all of it. Long time from The Last of Us for me. That was a rough one.
Yep.
Even when I hear the song, because I hadn't heard the song before, but now when I hear it, I just think of that, and it's rough.
Oh God, not again.
It's kind of like the song at the end of Bond. We have all the time in the world from Louis Armstrong. You hear that song, you just think of that man's beautiful blue eyes, just watching the rockets come at him.
Right at his face.
Right at his face. Frank says the ending of Succession is more depressing the more I think about it. Oh yeah, the ending is like a total mood killer.
Especially when you think about Kendall.
He's the worst one, yeah. Because the rest of them, you kind of figure they got something to live for. That guy's just, you don't know what he's going to do.
Nope.
I thought he was going to jump in the river or something.
Yeah.
That's a great show. But I think that covers TV for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I don't know what I'm not sure if I missed anything this year. Maybe it's kind of a general conversation, but I don't know if I missed any TV this year that I wanted to get to. I'd have to look at some of the winners from Golden Globes and the Emmys upcoming, see if there was something that I needed to get to.
Yeah, there's probably something I forgot. If you guys have favorite episodes and stuff, let us know. Curious what you guys got. Are we done with TV?
Yeah, that's it for TV for me, Chris.
So our final category, in case anybody didn't know what it was, it's movies.
Oh my God!
Yeah, what a surprise! I watched a lot of movies.
Yeah, Chris letterboxed it this year, and I wasn't kind of expecting what was going to happen with that. But what'd you say? Over 100 movies this year?
I'm going to it now. I've already started the 2024 one too.
That a boy. I should probably. I can't. Damn it! I'm going to do that. I'm going to put Terminator 1 and The Nice Guys, but I already seen those movies. But
I was just counting whatever I watched from start to credits.
Well, that's the other thing. Do you only put movies you haven't seen before?
No, it was whatever I watched.
Okay.
If I watched it start to finish, it went on the list. So the final tally for 2023 was I watched 140 movies.
That a boy.
And half of these I don't remember watching. Like the Puss in Boots movie, I forgot.
Love that movie.
I adore that movie. I watched it, I think, once with my kid and then once by myself. I love it. Yeah. Puss in Boots is one of my favorite of the year. I have Pearl on the list, but I don't think Pearl came out last year.
No, we were talking about that last year.
Yeah, Pearl was in 2022. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watched a lot on it. You want to get to yours first?
Yeah. So the first one I got on my list is "Talk to Me."
Oh, that was good.
I had it's my favorite horror movie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I just love how the movie was shot. I love the horror aspect of this movie. I thought it was scary, like actually scary. I thought it was disgusting in some parts, particularly that woman sucking on the freaking toes. Um, I don't know why that shot is ingrained into my soul. Um, yeah, I love the ending of it is one of those like what happened.
Oh yeah.
Um, I had a great time. I particularly loved like I don't know the party scenes, whatever you
Those
call
were
it when they're actually.
fun, which might be weird to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a great time with Talk to Me. I thought it was scary. I thought it was fun. I thought it was imaginative and new and original and new.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great time with Talk to Me.
Yeah, Talk to Me's on my list too. That was one of my favorite
Nice.
movies last year, and I think I'd say it could be my favorite horror movie. Does Infinity Pool count as horror?
I didn't see it, but if it has a Cronenberg attached to it in any which way or form, then yes, it is.
Okay, that's tough then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mario was. Yeah, Mario was 23. Yes.
Love that movie.
Yeah, Mario was a good time. I like Mario.
Mm-hmm.
Good year for animation.
Big time.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of animation, Across the Spider Verse.
Yep.
That movie is just like 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters with my son and just my son. It's over 2.5 hours long, so it was a little difficult for me to watch it with a kid who's squirming and saying he wants to go home after an hour and a half. But I watched it again recently, and it is so good. It's my favorite Spider-Man piece of media. Maybe I don't know. I love the animated show a lot, but I love Across the Spider-Verse. I think it's incredible.
Ian's got a list for us here. It's number one, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Can't argue with that. Number two is Godzilla -1. I will get to it. 3 is Oppenheimer. 4 is Air. 5 is Mutant Mayhem. That's a pretty solid list there.
We watched Mutant Mayhem today for fun.
Oh, it's a good time. I love Mutant Mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could have asked for a better Ninja Turtle animated film.
One thing that I noticed a lot more this time was the animation and how much I enjoyed it.
I like that. It's different, but it works. Because I thought like the animation in the first Spider-Verse movie was jarring.
Yep.
And I thought this was going to be the same way, but it wasn't. It was, I think it was more cohesive. Phil's got his list for us. Oppenheimer's number 1, Napoleon's number 2, Thanksgiving, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Poor Things. Pretty solid stuff. On my list, something I wanted to talk about. I'm actually looking at the letterbox because I'm trying to remember everything.
Scrolling through all of them.
Yeah, I kind of have to. Mission Impossible. I thought Dead Reckoning was such a good time. I didn't love the AI being the villain. I feel like we're past that in a way.
It's never going away.
I know, but it feels like the AI has been a villain for 20 years. And now because it's a bigger deal in real life, reality, it's becoming we're getting another wave of AI things. It's like, I don't want it. Mm-hmm. But the movie is so good, I don't care.
That was my thought too. And the AI didn't bother me as much as it bothered you. And I was actually surprised with how much I enjoyed Dead Reckoning, considering it kind of didn't do as well as a lot of people expected it to do because of the Top Gun Maverick Tom Cruise after effects.
There's a lot of factors.
But I had a great time with Dead Reckoning. I thought the action was some of the best that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
The car chase scene.
The
train scene, even though it basically rips off Uncharted 2 at the end with Nathan Drake trying to climb the train as it falls over the thing.
It did it better than the Uncharted movie.
Yeah. I had a great time with Dead Reckoning, but I love Tom Cruise movies. I think he's an action star, and I love action movies. So
he's one of my favorite actors. Frank says TMNT and My Adventure with Superman are my favorite animation stuff this year. That's the show I was thinking of. My Adventure with Superman.
There you go.
Yes, that's what I was thinking So yeah, Mission Impossible would be on my list of favorites for the year. Nicolas Cage had a lot of movies, so we're just going to call it the Nicolas Cage year.
Yeah.
Or just a blanket statement. Dream Scenario, Sympathy for the Devil, and Renfield are, I think, ingrained in my bloodstream after this year.
Yeah.
Renfield especially. I am going to lead a disgusting charge for a Dracula solo movie with Nick Cage. I'm going to get a hashtag going.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it's coming.
It may be too late, but we're going to start it now.
It's never too late. But yeah, no, the three Nick Cage movies are all high on my list. I generally just really enjoyed them all.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Renfield will be my favorite of the three.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's also just an easy watch. It's 90 minutes.
Right.
Nick Cage going nuts, and he's Dracula. It's a win-win for me.
Yeah, there was. I don't know if there was a way that you weren't going to enjoy this movie.
He was always going to be a saving grace.
Yeah.
Even if the rest of the movie was terrible, I would at least come out of, okay, well, he was good.
Yeah, so I saw half the movie and haven't gone back, which is fine. But yeah, and I think the only one Nick Cage one I probably want to see is just a Dream Scenario. I think I want to check that one out. It's
really
from last year.
So there's some more of my favorites. What about you?
I got Creed 3 on my list. I'm a big Rocky franchise and Creed fan. It's not even the best story of the three movies, but I think it's the best looking. I think it's the best shot, and I think I like the way that the final boxing fight scene was a little different than what we'd seen before. It kind of takes us out of the match and into the psyche of Donnie, of Adonis Creed. So I've got Creed 3 on my list, and then I don't have another one except for the one. Do you have any more before we get to the one?
I have a lot. I just didn't want to.
I told you Chris watched a lot more movies than me this year.
Yeah, I just didn't want to go on and on about the movies I liked. I feel like I talked myself.
That's the point. That's the point of the show, man. Let people know what is some of your favorites this year.
Well, in that case, Voyage. I'll just randomly just spill them out here. No Hard Feelings. That was hilarious.
You liked that, did you? I didn't see you talk about that, and we didn't talk about it either.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. I liked that a lot. Voyage of the Demeter was really entertaining. The Holdovers, I think, is a new Christmas classic, if you will. Just great performances all around in that one. I love the story. I love the aesthetic of it. It's like a 70s Christmas movie, which is cool. Right. And it looks like it. So that's high on my list. This didn't come out last year, but I just want to mention it anyway. Marcel the Shell.
Right.
Loved it. And then like the Oscar movie, like Oppenheimer might be the movie of the year for me, but it's fighting with Poor Things still.
Oh, right. That's why I shouldn't have assumed that we were leaving Oppenheimer to the end because I forgot about Poor Things. But I listened to your show that Phil had you on, and I just assumed that Poor Things was still your second place one. So
I don't know. It depends. It could go either way. And I just watched Saltburn last night, which is from last year, so we're going to count it.
Mm-hmm.
Saltburn, I thought, was tremendous. I really, really like that movie. It's disturbing, it's dark, it's ugly, and I love it.
Those are all the things my wife said after she watched it, but except for the last one where she said I loved it.
Oh, well, perhaps another watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, those that's like a quicker version of my rundown, I think. And of course, the comic book movies too.
Yes, my movie of the year was Oppenheimer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went into before I watched it, I wasn't expecting that to be the case because I don't want to say that Christopher Nolan is overrated because he's not, but the way people talk about him makes me feel like he's overrated. Like, oh, he's the greatest in the world. And I find he's also very pretentious, I think. Like, oh, don't watch your movie on a phone and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But what Oppenheimer was and what the experience was for me in the movie theater when I was watching it, I had it's enjoyable to watch at an over 3-hour movie. It's informative, which is I thought was also very nice for me as well. It's about something that I thought I knew a little bit about. Hey, they dropped a bomb and killed thousands of people, but what went into that and the science behind it, which I thought was also very interesting. And
Yeah.
One of the things that I love, and I think about like The Social Network, Mark Zuckerberg and his idiot buddies, but they're talking about coding. But the way that David Fincher makes that movie is you understand and you can relate to it a little bit. The same way with Oppenheimer and the science of quantum physics and quantum mathematics and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to know everything about it, but you can understand it. You can understand what's happening. So the history level of it, I really enjoyed. The way the story was told, which is one of the things I wasn't expecting to like about it, the back and forth with the past, present, and future. It's one of the things I don't. One of the things that bothers me about Christopher Nolan stuff most of the time is the back and forth and the forward and the backwards. Like, can you just go in a straight line? But even in saying all of these things, I still loved Oppenheimer. It was just something about this one, like everything about it, with the acting and the sound, the visuals, everything about Oppenheimer blew my expectations away, knowing that I was going in there saying, all right, I'm going to see a movie that everyone loves and everyone says is great, great, great. And I'm going like, there's no way I can enjoy it that much. And I did. And everything about it is great. Cillian Murphy isn't one of my favorite actors, but this is from the movies that I've seen. He's this year. It's just the performance of the year. It's got too many characters in it in general, but doesn't really matter. I love Oppenheimer. It's so good. It's so enjoyable to watch, and it's a movie not for everyone, but like for my age, 30 something. I think 20-year-olds can watch this movie. I think 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, older people like my mom's age or anything. I think it's good for them. It's just a great movie, and I almost hurts me to say because I don't know if I'm a small Christopher Nolan hater in a certain way or another, but it's just I love Oppenheimer so much.
Kosai. I think Oppenheimer is flawless.
Yeah.
I rarely say any movie is flawless.
Mm-hmm.
But Oppenheimer, I think, deserves that title. I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny you mentioned the way that they're talking like heavy science stuff. There's real terms and everything is there, but you're never like lost. Mm-hmm. And that's primarily what the movie is for 3 hours.
Yeah, it's just scientists talking
for 3 hours, and it doesn't ever feel tiring or bore. Not for me, at least. It's not tiring. It's not boring. I was completely glued to it. And at the end of the screening when I went to it, I like the explosion was cool and all, but the other scenes are what matters so much more. Mm-hmm. Especially the scene where after the bomb, where everybody is celebrating. And Oppenheimer's kind of losing it.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful scene. I really, really love Oppenheimer.
Well, and I think, talk about the bomb scene. Nolan understood that it wasn't about the bomb.
It wasn't.
Like, it wasn't. The bomb didn't drop and there wasn't a big explosion. The bomb dropped and there was silence for, what was it, 30, 45 seconds?
Something like that, yeah. It lets it sit.
When that happened, I'm like, I was in the theater. I was like, wow. Like I think my mouth was open, and I was probably literally saying like "wow" at this scene. Like that scene and like the whole lead up to it, it's just incredible.
It is. It really is. It's a special film. That's why it's so hard to say it's not my favorite movie of the year. Yeah. Because I keep going back to it. It's just there. I want to mention this. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I go to the theater. I don't like the theater, but I saw this in the theater and I loved it so much, and now I'm scared to watch it at home. Like, I'm scared about the experience, like everything about, like, again, Christopher Nolan is such an asshole. Like, movie theater experience, don't watch it at home or whatever. But like that's what this is. Like the sound and the visuals of it. Now I'm scared to watch it at home, where I have to turn it down, or my son is going to come down the stairs and yell at me for having the TV up too loud. Like I'm worried about watching it now and having a different feeling about it because of that experience I had in the theater.
I watch Saltburn on my phone like the Lord intended. So this comment from Phil, I love this. Killers of the Flower Moon is 3.5 hours, yet somehow Maestro felt like 5 hours to me. We didn't have a show after I watched Maestro, so I haven't been able to speak about it really. But Phil summed it up. It's
not often we talk about things we don't like either.
Right. So. Phil summed it up really well here. It was 5 hours out of my life. I'm not getting back. So anyway, moving on. I don't know what the Grave of Fireflies is, Ian. What is that? This is an interesting question. Did you feel like the sex scenes were too much in Oppenheimer?
Okay, so the big thing that we we made a joke online is that the reviews were coming out and people were posting it like, what was it?
Oh yeah, I remember.
15-minute sex scene where you see Oppenheimer's balls, and I'm like, there's no way that's in the movie. So I went and I'm like, okay, is this happening? It's like there is a sex scene, and I think they're obviously talking about that one where they're in the room and
Yeah.
Oppenheimer's being whatever, and he sees.
Yeah,
it's like a flashback kind of weird scene, weird sex scene. I had no problem with it. I understood what they were doing. It's a very different than most sex scenes that I've seen before, but it didn't take me out of the movie at all. But Frank, it's nothing like what you read online.
Yeah, it's not this kind of intense. I don't even know how to explain it. It's not the X-rated film they would lead you to believe.
No, like
yeah. And I would also say the scenes have a purpose, especially the second one, or is it the third one? Because there's like 2.5.
Well, the first one is them having sex, and then they sit naked and they talk to each other.
Oh, okay, that's right. So
and then later on, there's a scene where he's being talked to, or interrogated, or whatever, and his wife at the time is there, and it's all getting blended together with his past. It's just all about his past. That's all about it's getting around to.
I think they're meaningful. Meaningful is what I would say.
I would agree.
Yeah. It's Nolan's finest film. Yeah, I agree with that. The first Studio Ghibli movie, one of the best. Okay, I haven't seen that one. I've still not seen the majority of those movies, but the ones I have seen, I like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now we're down to what would be the one. So you say Oppenheimer is your favorite?
Oppenheimer's my number one. Again, I haven't seen a lot of movies this year. Who posted about Godzilla -1? Like, I want to see that movie so bad now. But yeah, and I haven't seen Poor Things, but I don't think I'll love it as much as you, the way that you've described it and the way that I've read it. But I think this is more of a personal and type of movie for you. This is the type of movie for you.
Yes. So there was this tweet going around yesterday.
Sorry, I'm going to do this for you.
There we go. There was this tweet going on. I say if you had to make a trilogy of 3 films, like any 3 films that you feel should be watched together, what would they be? Yep. That hit home with me because the trilogy I would put together for 2023 of like movies that I think are kind of my speed, I guess, or in a weird way. They would be Infinity Pool, Saltburn, and Poor Things.
Holy cow! Sick and twisted, man.
I know, those are three of my favorite movies. So I think they work really well as a trilogy. They're just weird and just interesting. But yeah, Poor Things. I go back and forth. I love it. It's just it's really. I don't want to call it flawless because it's not. It's too long, but it's really
yeah. That's funny that Oppenheimer is my favorite and super long, and Poor Things is your favorite and super long. But then we still tell each other and say to each other, "Why do movies have to be so long?
Why they are too long?"
I know.
But yeah, I love Poor Things. I think I haven't shut up about it since I saw it. I've been like a PR campaign for it.
This is Poor Things.
Yeah, and I think if people are offended by the sex in Oppenheimer, you're not going to like Poor Things. I'm surprised Poor Things got made, to be honest.
Wow.
And released as widely. Actually, it's getting edited in the UK.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that earlier. But yeah, my number one is Poor Things or Oppenheimer. It depends what day you ask me, what time of the day, what my mood is. I'm good either way.
Nice. Don't know. I have no other ones. Any other? You already pretty much ran through your gambit there. So it's our movies of 2023 and our TV shows of 2023 and our comics of 2023. It was a bountiful year of 2023, I think.
Bountiful. I like that word.
Bountiful. That came out of nowhere. Anyways.
It feels like we're at a Thanksgiving table.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that's it, guys. That's our thoughts on 2023 as we embark on 2024, where there is going to be more to come. I want to say I think last year we did our look ahead to 2023. And I wonder, I'd like to go back. I wonder what's on that list compared to what's on our favorites now, and if they're even close to the same. Because like stuff comes out, that we don't know about. Stuff comes out later in the year that hasn't been announced yet. And sometimes stuff just surprises us as well.
And it gets moved like Dune.
Yeah, exactly. Son of a bitch. So I feel like 2024 is going to be like that as well. I think there's going to be some surprises in there. I think there's going to be some surprises in good and bad ways. But I don't think quality and quantity, or I don't think quantity is ever going to go away. We're still getting a bunch of superhero movies this year. People always talk about that. I still think we're going to get some real quality stuff in 2024. There you go.
Aquaman is actually killing it at the box office.
Yep.
He deserves the shout out. He's killing it.
I read that today. So funny. So thanks, Phil. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Ian. Thanks for helping us out and giving us some of your picks for your favorites of 2023. And maybe next time we come around, we'll give kind of a look ahead, or maybe we won't, because we don't plan these things for shit. Sometimes we do. Chris, where can people find you? Where can they see all those crazy movie lists and movie recommendations at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Well, yeah. You guys can follow me on Twitter at thatchris70. You could also follow the podcast I do with my buddies Phil Walsh and Andy Caruso over at DC Unlimited Pod. We talk all things DC over there. And as always, I would love it if you would follow this show at G of the Geeks. Emmet is better with the other plugs, so he'll do that part.
You can follow me on Twitter at Emmet Davis7, Gathering of the Geeks. It's available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Just search Gathering of the Geeks and you will find us. Thanks again, guys, for checking us out in the comments. Phil, Eric, Ian, and Frank, we appreciate it greatly that you're checking us out on this being Golden Globe night. And saying all that, for Chris and I'm Emmet, and we gather on Sundays.
Have a great week, guys.